Just a simple reading of those three passages today would tell you that St. Paul's got a mission. He's been sent to preach to the Gentiles, the non-Jewish people of his day. And of course, Jesus has a mission. He is to heal and to preach, mostly to the Jewish people of his day. Job doesn't seem to have a mission. I don't know if you caught it or if you know much of this story, but Job, at this point, what that you heard, Job's lost pretty much everything. His kids have all been killed tragically, and most of his property has either been stolen or destroyed, and his health has been taken away. And so Job's kind of mission, if you will, well, he doesn't really have one, because he says that passage pretty much boils down to, today was awful. Yesterday was awful. Tomorrow is probably going to be awful. It brings up the question, do you have a mission? And if so, what is your mission? I would think for some of you, this is a very easy question. You do. You have a mission. It is from God. You know what it is. You are pursuing it. But I think for a lot of people, maybe we fall into other categories. There are some, I would suspect, that don't have a mission. Oh, you're not in Job's situation. But, one day is very, very much like the next. And so yesterday was kind of like today, which is kind of like tomorrow. And maybe, you get, like the Super Bowl to liven up a day or something. But otherwise, one day is just like the next. You don't wake up with a purpose, if you will. Others, they have a mission, but it may not be from God. In other words, you might have a mission, for example, just for success, say business success, or climbing the corporate ladder, trying to take your small business and grow it well to something bigger. That's a mission. That'll get you out of bed in the morning, and it might be a mission from God, but it also might be a mission that has come from our culture. So you first, I think, need to sort of take stock and just to ask yourself, well, do I have a sense of mission? And if there's any vagueness to that, I think you want to start with saying, well, no, I guess I do not. I guess I do not know what it is God wants me to do. Or maybe I'm overly being influenced by the culture. After that, if you need to fix that, that's a question of prayer. And it's not all that easy, because you have to say to God up front, hey, I really want to know what it is you want me to do, and I'll tell you right now, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. That's tricky for a lot of people. What they want is they want God to give them a mission. And then they want to say, God, I had something else in mind. And then do that. But we've talked about that in the past. And if you need help with that, I'd be happy to do that for you. Talk about that idea of discerning, figuring out what God wants you to do. It's not a topic just for the young. It is a topic for all of us. But something else you could do, and I think is important, is to realize that our mission sort of has two parts. There is a part that is sort of for us. God wants you and God wants me to do this particular thing. This is your mission. God wants you to do that. But there is a corporate mission, if you will. As you read through the Bible, you'll notice there are lots of themes running through the Bible. Things that we are all told that we are all obligated to do. One of them is help the poor. You cannot read the Bible without picking out that God likes the poor, and he wants us to deal with that issue. But there is evangelization. Last thing that Jesus tells his disciples and us is go evangelize. And then there's all that other stuff about, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, visit those in prison and in hospital, comfort the afflicted. Those are themes throughout all the Bible that Jesus really raises up. And see, doesn't that get tricky? Because, you look at that and you go like, well, I don't know how to do any of that. Or you might honestly say, and it might well be accurate, you might say, well, I'm not called to that. Or you could be in the position I am. I mean, even as a minister, I have never visited anybody in prison. I have visited teenagers who are in detention, but I don't think that counts. But I've never had the opportunity to do that. And so, what do I do about that? And certainly, just by virtue of my job, I get a chance to an extent, deal with some homeless people, but perhaps in your circumstances, they exist, but you don't know anything about them. You won't know what to do. You just don't run across them. What do you and I do with that part of our mission? We've got our particular mission, but what about all this general stuff? Please know we're obligated to do something. It's not like you just say, oh, well, that's not my thing, and you get to, scratch it off the list. So let me offer you one suggestion. I need you to up front understand this is not the only way to do this. It is the way I do it, and it's terrific, but it may not be yours, so please don't think I'm imposing this on you. And that my solution to a lot of this is the annual pastoral appeal. Because the diocese runs 50, 60 ministries, things that I don't do, can't do, have no opportunity to do, don't have the gifts to do, one of which is prison ministry, for example. And so my obligation to help those, to do something for those in prison, is in some part fulfilled by the fact that I give money to the annual appeal, which goes to the diocese, which funds a ministry that takes care of prisons throughout the diocese. There are lots of those applications. I mean, again, you and I both, with the exception of maybe being nice to some seminarian that might visit us, you and I have nothing to do with the formation of young men who are interested in pursuing a vocation to the priesthood. We don't have anything to do with that. And so what is our obligation? Well, by giving to the appeal, that money that goes to the appeal funds seminary education. I would tell you, I hope you're pleased to hear this, but if you gave money to the appeal from 2011 to 2016, you contributed to my seminary education, which I will assure you was crazy expensive. And you made it possible for me to be here today and to serve you. You can pick a ministry, so many of these that we're called to do, and yet we don't really have a way to do it ourselves. And there's also, too, the thing that you need to understand, that sometimes one person or even one parish is incapable of doing what needs to be done. Best example of that is Pinillas Hope up the road. His heart's terrific, and we do well with the people that come to us. You're always so generous about bringing food and dropping money in the poor box. We do well, but we're not set up to take someone who does not have a home and get them into stable housing. That's a huge job. But Pinillas Hope is 240 people, I think, is their capacity right now. That's how many people they're working to get off the street. Doesn't always work, but it works a lot of times. And so our money there to the annual appeal helps the diocese, helps Catholic Charities, Pinillas Hope, and we do our bit that way. So sometime over the last week or two, I hope, the diocese sent you some information about the appeal. And if you by chance did not get any of that, as you leave today on the table, there's some things that you could pick up that might be helpful to you. There's also a prayer card there if you want to take it, Spanish on one side, English on the other. It's a way for you to pray for our diocese and all those ministries. And let me close with just some really good news. I bring this up not because, we always struggle with APA, we always struggle with the appeal. We do pretty well, and last year we did spectacular. Normally, the spring festival, combined with what the parishioners do, all that put together meets our goal. You know, last year we did not do the spring festival. And yet, we came up just $2,000 short of our goal, which is remarkable. That was one particular generous person put a nice donation in that really helped close that gap. But so many other people just gave a little bit more, and that made the difference. And so all we need to do this year is simply, those of you that have been generous and you feel God's calling you to continue to support the diocese, you continue to do that. If you can, add a little bit to it, that would be terrific. And then if we could just get some other people who have not contributed last year or maybe in the past to begin, you know, whatever God puts on your heart. If it's a small amount, a big amount, that's always between you and the good Lord. But you have an obligation to do something to these wider ministries. And if you don't think the appeal is your way of supporting those broader ministries, I do pray that you would ask the good Lord how you can do that. And if the good Lord leads you in a different direction, absolutely, follow the Lord. Definitely want to do that. But I appreciate you letting me make this little pitch, because we all do want to have a mission, our own personal mission. And tied to that, we want to help in this corporate mission that we all have. And when you do that, when you get this right, wow, you're not like Job at all. You get out of bed. You're like St. Paul. You really, even though you don't think, well, I could never be like St. Paul, you can be. You're not going to preach. You're not going to have his mission. But whatever mission God gives you, it'll get you out of bed.